Hi, my name's Ingemar Hunnings. Are you from Australia wanting to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales? If so, this video is for you. I just a little introduction. So I'm the lead consultant at HCL. We're a management consultancy for businesses in the legal sector. We do a lot of work around the qualification through the SQE route as solicitors of England and Wales. We act as external confirming solicitors for QWE. And we help with applications for exemption from the SQE2 exam. We also do a lot of compliance support work, AML, data protection, things like that. And we support certain case management systems like Leap and Clio and Proclaim and such like. Now, getting on to the SQE and QWE, I'm going to share my screen and take you to this document here. So what does the SRA want you to do if you're going to qualify as a solicitor through the, this is a solicitor of England and Wales, through the SQE route. So we're not talking about the LPC route, that's the old route, this is the SQE route. There are 4 elements that are required. You need to have a degree or degree equivalent. You need to pass the exams, SQE1 and SQE2. You need to have 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor or a COLP. And you need to prove your identity and do the usual criminal records checks. So what I'm going to do is run through those in more detail. Then we'll talk about exemptions, and I'll go through how you can apply for an exemption from the SQE2 exam if you are already qualified as a lawyer, just to be precise. Now then, some more detail than exemptions. So more detail here, degree or degree equivalent. Notice it's not a law degree. It just needs to be degree or degree equivalent. So if you have a training company that's telling you, no, we need you to do a converter course, that is their requirement, not the SRA's. Now, as you go into your My SRA profile, you'll see that the SRA uses a company or a tool to check equivalency of your qualification. I think it's a company called ENIC. Okay. So there we go. That's with that. The exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2. So the SQE1 exam tests you on your legal knowledge. It's multiple choice, made up of 2 parts, FLK1 and FLK2, functioning legal knowledge. It's tough. Of the people who sit it, roughly about 55% pass. The time constraints are quite severe, so you really need to be careful with your timing. There's usually at least 2 or more answers that could be correct. I think you get 4 options to pick from for each multiple choice. So that's the SQE1 exam. The SQE2, now you cannot apply to sit the SQE2 unless you have passed your SQE1 or you have an exemption from the SQE1. The SQE2 tests your knowledge, of course, but also the application of that knowledge into 16 real life scenarios. So the SRA are having a look at you as if you were newly qualified to see if you'd be a safe pair of hands for them to license. So as I said, the SQE2 exam is 16 questions, 12 are written, 4 are oral. Now the written parts, the written answers, and also the SQE1 can be sat in the Pearson VUE centres, which are located around the world. And so you won't have to fly to the UK for that. But the oral questions currently, as I'm recording this, which is March 26, the oral questions, those 4 oral questions, you will still need to take those in England or Wales. So you will need to come over to the UK for that. Now, of the people who sit the SQE2, roughly about 77% pass. But remember, that's a filtered group because only those who have passed the SQE1 or been exempted from it can apply to sit the SQE2 exam. I'll talk about exemptions later on. The QWE, 2 years full-time equivalent QWE confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor. Some definitions here. Full-time equivalent. So what is full-time? The SRA defines full-time as at least 32 hours a week. Then it's a question of whether all of your time is QWE. And so it allows for full-time equivalent. So you could do more months or years to get your 2 years full-time equivalent. Now, what is qualifying work experience? That is defined as the provision of legal services, and they do make reference to the Legal Services Act. They've gone on to say that it does not have to be done in a law firm. It does not have to be done in England and Wales. It does not have to be done in English and Welsh law. You can reach back in time as far as you want for your QWE. It could indeed be voluntary work in a charity or something like that. You can reach out to an external solicitor to get them to do the confirmation of your QWE. That's a service which we have provided from before the QWE, the SQE came in. Indeed, we started working with the SRA to work out what the process might look like in the summer of 2020. And I think we got the first two QWE confirmations. We have, at the time of recording this, confirmed the QWE of over 180 people from all over the world, more than half outside the UK, more than half working in-house in companies. Just got to bring on to screen the service. So that's from our website. You can see the URL here. So it describes what we do. Okay. And yeah, if you want to get in touch, you can see, please fill in the form, or you can email me. I'd rather you did not ring me because it just means that I'm most likely going to miss the call because I'll be in meetings and I haven't got any audit trail. So fill in the form or email me. That would be best. Okay. So that is the QWE element here. The declaration, well, proving your identity and criminal records checks, everyone has to do that. If you do not have a solicitor to help you with the proving of your identity, then we do have a small service to do that, to help you with that. The SRA, I think, uses Atlantic data for the mechanism of proving that. Criminal records checks, that how you do that will depend upon whatever the however you do that in the country where you live at the time when you're doing that. Okay, exemptions. You cannot get an exemption from the requirement for a degree or degree equivalent. You cannot get exemption from proving your identity in criminal records checks. Exams. The only way you're really going to be able to get an exemption from the SQE1 is if you have by chance already taken and passed the old LPC exam, the old route to qualification. And so you can trade that in against an SQE1 exemption. Okay, if you don't have the LPC, this isn't relevant, but it's just for those people who might still have that. Okay. Then you would need to sit the SQE2 exam because they won't grant an exemption from both. And you'd need to get your QWE confirmed. SQE2, only those people who are qualified as lawyers can apply for an exemption from the SQE2 exam. And I'll take you through how to do that in a short while. Now then, what about the QWE? How can you be exempt from that? Well, it's only possible for you to be exempt from that when and if you are qualified already as a lawyer in another jurisdiction. However, if you are qualified as a lawyer already and you chose and were able to and chose to trade in an old LPC pass against the SQE1, the SRA have said, and I asked them, they gave me clarification on this, which you can find on our website, that if you've traded in an LPC against SQE1 exemption, you will have to sit the SQE2 exam and you will not be exempted from the QWE element, even though you are a qualified lawyer. If instead, as a qualified lawyer, you apply for exemption from the SQE2, you will then automatically be exempted from the QWE element. So that's a little bit technical. You may want to go back and re-listen to this just to run through the scenarios there. Okay, I'll pause just for a moment to bring up YouTube on here. So you may well have watched this on YouTube. May I encourage you to subscribe and like and let other people know. Lots and lots of videos on here for different people. The pink ones are about the SQE, the QWE and exemptions. The green ones are the full webinars on that topic. Blue is compliance. Orange, if you see them in here, is support and help for the LEAP case management system, which we've been working with since 2016. So there we go. Right, let's go back to these. So we've gone through the exemptions that are available to you. I now want to look at how you can apply for an exemption if you are already a qualified lawyer. So what's the mechanism for someone who's qualified in Australia? So the SRA here they distinguish between those people who have an unrestricted practicing certificate and those people who have a restricted practicing certificate. So if your practicing certificate is unrestricted, you can make an application. It's an individual application for exemption. You do not have an agreed exemption. You need to fill in the form, pay their fee, which is £265 currently. You need to provide evidence of your professional qualification. The easiest thing is your admission certificate. And you will also need to provide evidence that you have at least 2 years legal work experience post-qualification as an Australian legal practitioner, solicitor, whatever. So that would be a letter of reference that you probably would draft for the person who was your supervisor. They had to have directly supervised your work. And if there's more than one period to make up the minimum 2 years legal work experience, then there may be more than one letter of reference that you have to draft. Legal work experience, by the way, has a different definition from QWE. So put out of your mind the stuff about QWE. There are technical things that need to be included in the letter of reference. Okay, so we do help with that. So you can see on our website this service giving all the information, so you can do it yourself. You can download the form, guidance, and everything is here. But we do have a service for a nominal sum of £250 plus VAT if you're in the UK, so 250. If you're outside the UK, 250 plus VAT if you're in the UK, for which we'll give you a simple template. We will review your drafts, advise you on what needs to be corrected or amended or included in those, also review the draft of the application form and remind you what you need to submit. So going back to this, someone who has an unrestricted certificate, 2 years full-time, 2 years legal work experience post-qualification. It doesn't, the legal work experience doesn't have to be done in the country where you qualified. It could be somewhere else, but it does need to be to the level of your qualification. It can't be working as a paralegal. Now, you also need to submit proof of qualification of your referee. Now, your referee, if they're a lawyer, it would be their admission certificate, I imagine. If they are a professional but not a lawyer, for example, an accountant, then you would need to submit proof of their qualification again. Plus, you would need to explain in the letter of reference how they were suitable to supervise your legal work. If they are not a lawyer or any other professional, then you can still use them, but you will still need to explain in the letter of reference how they were suitable to supervise your legal work. Now, what happens if your certificate is so that was, yeah, that was someone who does not hold a restricted an unrestricted, i.e. their certificate is restricted. Okay, the wording is not the clearest there, is it? So this is someone with a restricted certificate, all of that stuff I've been talking about. If their certificate is unrestricted, you have an agreed exemption. Okay, so very, very simple what you need to do. So I'm now going to go over to the form and show you how you fill that in these two scenarios. So let's go and find the form. Yep, there we go. I'm just going to go to the top of it. Right, so section 1 is who you are. Section 2 is where you are qualified. Section 2.1. Section 2.2, what practice rights does your qualification give you? As an Australian solicitor, then you get all of these practice rights, so it should be yes for all of those. Section 3 is the ethics, fine. Section 4, now, if your certificate is unrestricted, you would tick agreed exemption, and that's all you need to fill in on this form. You just submit it together with the money, and that's that. If, however, your certificate is restricted, then you're ticking 4B, filling in the name of the organization where you've got your post-qualification work. It's SQE2 exemption you're ticking. So this is for the person with the restricted certificate. And you carry on. You do not need to complete sections 5 and 6, but you would go to section 7, where it would be 7B. My 2 years legal work experience was completed post-qualification. So you need to put in the information about the referee or referees who you're quoting effectively for your post-qualification work. You do not need to complete section 8. Okay, just a reminder then that if you want to get in touch with us, please do fill in the form or email me. Please don't ring me. I hope that is of help, and wish you all the best.